Okay, today we're going to be learning about the Triangle Sum Theorem and classifying triangles. We're going to first start with the Triangle Sum Theorem. The Triangle Sum Theorem states that all three angles inside a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. So it's pretty simple. You just look at the three angles, and if you added them all together, you're always going to get that they add up to be 180. As you can see in our triangle here, we have 70 degrees, 60 degrees, and 50 degrees. If we add those three together, we're going to get 180 degrees. 60 and 70, that's 130. Plus another 50, that's 180. So the Triangle Sum Theorem, you need to make sure you write that down and also put our example here. You need to have the triangle labeled with the A, B, and C, and the 70, 60, and 50. So if you take the three angles, add them together, all three angles of a triangle, any triangle, will add up to be 180 degrees. Now the next part of what we're going to be talking about is classifying triangles. And there's two ways you can classify. You can classify it by their sides or by the angles. I'm going to start with by the sides first. Classifying triangles by their sides, there's three words that describe this. First one is going to be equilateral. And equilateral triangles have all sides that are equal. So all three sides of your triangle are going to be the same length. Our next one, isosceles. Isosceles triangles have two sides that are equal. So 2 out of the three sides will be the same measure. Additionally, you can know an isosceles triangle because 2 of the angles will be equal as well. So it's 2 equal sides, and that means you have 2 equal angles. Then our last side classification is scalene. That means that no sides of your triangle are equal. So you need to make sure that you're writing down about classifying triangles. The first way you classify them is by their sides, and make sure you put all the descriptions for each equilateral, isosceles, and scalene. Now, the last way that we classify triangles is by their angles. And by the angles, we have acute, which means that all of the angles in the triangle are less than 90 degrees. So all three angles are under 90. Then there are obtuse triangles. Obtuse triangles are where one angle is greater than 90. So it's only going to be one that's larger than 90. And then our last one is a right triangle. And right triangles are where one angle is exactly equal to 90. So to classify triangles, you can do by their sides or by their angles. And again, you need to make sure that you write down all the descriptions for classifying by their angles as well. Now we'll go back over to our example on the other side of the board here. We have this triangle ABC. If you look at the sides, I have labeled that the sides are 5, 7, and 9. Looking at our three descriptions for the sides, we can ask, is it equilateral? Are all three of these sides equal? No. Isosceles. Are 2 of these sides equal? No. Scalene. No equal sides? That one fits. 5, 7, and 9. None of those numbers are equal to each other. So our triangle over here is a scalene triangle. And then we'll go and look by the angles. So we see acute. Are all of them under 90? Yes. 70 is less than 90. 60 is less than 90. 50 is less than 90. All three angles are under 90 degrees. That makes it an acute triangle. So we have an acute scalene triangle. If remember here, the Triangle Sum Theorem, all three of these angles will add up to be 180 degrees. So now I'm going to take this board down. So you need to make sure that you've gotten everything on here written in your notes. And we're going to do some examples. Okay. All right, Now, in each of these examples, we are going to be finding the missing angle or angles and classifying the triangle by both the sides and the angles. Sometimes they'll ask you to do just by the sides or by the angles, but we're going to do both. Make sure we really get that there. Okay, so for our first example, you need to make sure that you copy down this triangle in your notes. And I will redraw it up here too, so you know I'm working this out with you. We have our triangle. And we know that this one angle is 90 because of the little L. And we know this other angle over here is 30 because they told us that. And our job is to figure out what this angle X is up at the top. We have to write an equation. 90 plus 30 plus X, according to the Triangle Sum Theorem, have to add up to be 180. So I have to figure out 90 plus 30 plus what number is going to give me 180. Here, we can add the 90 and the 30 together to kind of simplify this. So 90 and 30, those make 120. So 120 plus X is equal to 180. And now this is just like a one-step equation. To get rid of the 120 with the X, we are just subtracting. So minus 120. Minus 120. So we can see that X is equal to 180 minus 120 is going to be 60. So our angle X is 60 degrees. Okay, so now we've done that. And you should always go back, and once you figure out what X is, go back and label that angle. We found that X is 60 degrees, so we're going to go back here and label it as 60 degrees. Okay, now we need to take some more information from our triangle. We got to label our sides. So we can see the vertical side here is 3. The long side, the hypotenuse, is 5. And this side down here is 4. So we're going to be classifying by the sides and by the angles. Let's look at our angles. We have a 30, 60, 90. According to our definitions, this one is a right triangle because it has a right angle. So we would say right. And then we are going to look at the sides. 3, 4, and 5. None of them are equal, so that's automatically a scalene. So we have a right scalene triangle, and we found that X was 60 by writing and solving an equation. Anytime you're finding the missing angle, you have got to be writing an equation and solving it, just like we are doing here. All of that equation stuff that we learned before still applies. Use the opposite operation to get your variable alone. Okay, get our next example pulled up here. Okay, so we have our triangle here. As you can see, all 3 angles are labeled with X, and they've told us that one side is 4. We will go through here. We know that all 3 angles, when we add them together, have to be equal to 180 degrees. So X plus X plus X equals 180. Well, if I'm just adding X's together, how many X's do I have? 3 of them. So it's going to be 3X. And that is equal to 180. Now, how do I solve this? The 3 in front means we're multiplying by 3. So I have to divide by 3 to get rid of the multiplying by 3. So divide by 3 on both sides. The 3 and the 3 cancel out. X is equal to 180 divided by 3 is going to be 60. So I know that X, each of those angles, is 60 degrees. So we label 60, 60, and 60. Okay, all three angles are 60 degrees. Now we need to go through and look at our descriptions for the triangles. We have 3 equal angles, so we could say that this has got to be an equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangles have equal angles, equal sides. Because if each of the 3 angles is the same thing, that means each of these sides is the same thing. So we know that because it's an equilateral triangle, this side is 4 and this side is 4 as well. Now we will see. All 3 angles are 60. All 3 of them are under 90 degrees. So this is an acute and since we know that all 3 angles are the same size, that means all the sides are the same size. So it's equilateral. Okay, acute, equilateral, and we found that X was equal to 60.